Welcome to Leading in Luxury, the podcast where top operators and innovators share what's really driving growth in boutique and luxury hospitality. I'm your host, Daniel Renna. Outside of this podcast, I lead DMR AI Hospitality Solutions, where we spend our time working alongside luxury and boutique hospitality brands, helping them improve profitability, streamline operations, and enhance the guest experience through smarter, data-driven decision-making. The goal of this show is simple: to have an honest conversation with experienced operators about what's actually working in today's hospitality landscape and where the real challenges still exist. Today, I'm thrilled to guest Mark Lohmann, CEO of Birdcall. Mark has an incredible background from his early days in the restaurant industry and even copper mining in Zambia to now leading a rapidly expanding quality-focused restaurant brand. We'll be diving into his unique path, Birdcall's vision for delivering a premium guest experience, and the key trends and challenges he sees in the restaurant industry, especially as it relates to scaling and technology. Mark, it's a pleasure to finally have you on the show.
Daniel, thank you very much. Could not be more excited to be part of this. I think what you're doing with this is just, first of all, it's just incredible and impressive. And second of all, I just think it's very, very needed in the world we live in today. So very, very glad to be here and very much looking forward to our conversation.
I appreciate that. Mark, your journey from copper mining in Zambia to leading Birdcall is quite unique. Before we dive into Birdcall, I'd love to briefly touch on your extensive experience in the restaurant industry, even before your time in Africa. What were some of the foundational lessons you learned about hospitality and customer experience during those early years that still resonate with you today?
Sure. Well, very first job I ever had was actually delivering pizzas for Domino's, and I was eventually a Domino's restaurant manager. And then I've worked at a variety of places in the last in my career. But some of the early stories or early experiences I've had have certainly stuck with me basically that entire time. And it not to make it sound simple, but to some extent it is. And if you just go back to my days at Domino's as a delivery driver, I mean, you could absolutely tie guest experience to how you deliver the pizza to how you treat the customer. And that's been true every step of the way. And if you think about one of the brands I worked at before, which was Qdoba, we actually, and you mentioned data earlier on, but we had a very good way to just be able to track not just guest data, but also in this case, general manager data or restaurant manager data. And we could absolutely track the performance of the restaurant, the tenure of the restaurant manager, and also to just guest experience that was provided in that restaurant environment. And so and I just think, and I'm sure we'll get into this, Daniel, but I just think as you kind of look at the world we're in today, where technology really is the forefront of what so many are doing, and technology is the forefront of what Birdcall is doing as well, to be clear. But there's just this desire, and it's almost like the consumers, it's just, they're desperate for connection. And that connection is in some ways emboldened by technology, but there really is this desire for authentic and true engagement with the team member, or between the team member, I should say, and the guest. And again, I'm sure we'll get into it, but I just think every day that passes, it's more and more imperative for a brand, whether it's a restaurant brand, hotel brand, whatever it may be, to be laser focused on how you, and that's through your team members, that's through you as an operator, how you ensure that you deliver something special to every guest that walks through your doors.
And that's a great point about the core of hospitality. Now let's talk about Birdcall. You've described it as a fancy Chick-fil-A, focusing on quality ingredients and an elevated guest experience. What was the vision behind Birdcall, and how do you ensure that premium experience is delivered consistently across your 17 locations, especially as you look to franchise?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great point, Daniel. So, I mean, the way to think about Birdcall, I think you've described it, very succinctly. It is, to some extent, it is a fancy Chick-fil-A. If you look at a brand like Shake Shack, I think many would find it similar to Shake Shack, except very much focused on fried chicken sandwiches on the Birdcall side of things. And really, the idea behind the brand goes back to some of the things we were talking about a few minutes ago, which is everyone wants to be treated a certain way, and everyone deserves to be treated a certain way. And that certainly includes the quality of the food you're going to get, but that also includes how you're treated when you walk in the door. So if you think about Birdcall holistically, what that means for us is we are going to give you, when you walk into Birdcall, we're going to give you one of the best fried chicken sandwiches you've ever had. Guaranteed, bar none. Now, if you're feeling a little bit, feeling like you want something different that day, we do have great salads, we do have great tenders, but realistically, what brought us to the dance was that core kind of fried chicken sandwich. I mean, if I were going for my first visit, that's what I'm going to get. But it's more than that. When you walk in the door to Bird Call, we want you to be greeted. We want the environment to be special, to be unique, to be very warm, welcoming, and friendly. So it's not just being greeted. We expect our team to just treat you the way that you've earned the right to be treated, as just being a member of this world. And so that should guide the entire experience you have in a bird call. Should be great food, should be super friendly, well-trained team members, and every moment you have in there. We look at it as everyone's going to have, a long day, or quote unquote a long day. We look at your visit to bird calls just kind of it's a brief rest, if you will. It's a moment of pleasure in your day. You're going to enjoy the food, but we also want you to enjoy the time that you spend at our restaurants. And then, to your question, how do we do that as we have embarked on this franchising journey? It really, um, it does become a bigger focus for us, because we want that same experience that we're confident in for the 17 bird calls we have today. We want that same experience to be true when we've got 50, when we've got 500. We don't want that to change. But as we start franchising, again, we got to keep our eye on the ball for that. And I will tell you, there's a few things we're doing to ensure that that's the case. One, first and foremost, it really comes down to who you partner with. We've been very selective and a bit precious, if you will, I guess, in how we've partnered with franchisees. We have had the luxury. We've been blessed with our first handful of franchisees, just incredible. Could not have designed or hoped for a better group of individuals and couples and groups, I should say, I guess. And they really do buy into what we're doing as a brand from a bird call standpoint. So first, we feel very good about that. Second, it does come down to training. We're probably going to overtrain out of the gate, just because we want everyone who opens a bird call to really live the bird call life. I mean, we want them to, again, not to go back to it, but when someone walks into the door in Starkville, Mississippi, when someone walks in the door in Caldwell, Idaho, we want them to feel the same as if they walked into the bird call, one of our bird calls here in Denver, Colorado. And so we're going to overtrain and just make sure that everyone kind of gets it. And if you go back to what I said before about the selection process, we feel real good about the training because we've selected the right people, we've partnered with the right folks. So it's not as if we've got to train poor behaviors out. We just want to make sure that the operators for all of our franchisees really do exhibit the bird call values. And then I would say the last piece is, I've worked for a lot of franchisors and I've worked for franchisees as well. We're going to do our best to be unique in how we partner with our franchisees, and what that means is we're going to be high touch where we can. And that doesn't mean we're going to be running their business or anything like that. But we also don't want to be as hands off as some franchisors are. And again, none of our franchisees are going to feel like we're running their business. I promise you that. But I've certainly seen situations in the past where you've got a franchisee and they're struggling. I mean, they're like, holy cow, what do I do? I mean, I'm new at this, or I'm facing a problem I've never faced before. What do I do? Nobody likes that feeling. I mean, nobody likes to feel like, holy cow, I'm getting my rear end kicked and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And, surely someone out there has faced this before. I'd love some advice. And so we want to be there front and center. We want to be partners with our franchisees because they're committing to the Bird Call brand in the same way that I and the rest of the team is committed to the Bird Call brand. And everyone's going to have a bumpy road because that's how life works. But we don't want anyone to ever have to fight a battle like that on their own.
Well, and that's great that you're there for them, and you're clearly focused on growth, and franchising is a significant step. In the boutique and luxury hospitality sector, we're always looking at innovation. What are some of the biggest trends you're observing in the restaurant industry right now, particularly concerning technology and customer expectations? And how is Bird Call adapting to these?
Yeah, so if you think about the very first Bird Call actually opened in 2017 here in Denver, Colorado, in the U.S. From day one, ordering at that Bird Call was done at the kiosk, and that ordering was not designed for a labor savings. That was not designed to be cost focused or anything like that. It was designed that way simply because of a view that the world was shifting towards technology, and it would be innovative leading edge for a brand to allow kiosk ordering while also providing hospitality. And so that's how Birdcall has been operated since that time, since 2017. Every Birdcall that's open today really does have a focus on a guest coming in and ordering from that kiosk. And again, it is done with hospitality. That kiosk is actually staffed, so it's not like some other kiosks you may see out there. And so if the guest walks in and they want to pay cash or they need a little extra help to place an order, or they just don't want to, which is where I'm coming. They just don't want to use a kiosk. We have a team member there to help, and so it is slightly different than most. But one of the trends we are very much seeing is I don't know that I would call it an anti-technology trend or anything like that, because technology is obviously it's just such a massive part of nearly everyone's life at this point. But we are definitely seeing it. And it's interesting. We're seeing this very much more so with younger guests. So think 20 somethings where the trend is, I don't want to engage with you as a brand on this kiosk. I want to talk to a human. I want to talk to a person. It's not going to be usually a 15-minute conversation, but I actually I want to talk. I want someone to talk to me. And so we're certainly seeing that as a trend. And one of the ways we are adapting is we actually have taken one of our restaurants. It's a bit of a prototype or not really a prototype, but it's a bit of a test case for us. Some of our restaurants in Colorado Springs, and we have flipped things on the head a little bit. And so we absolutely still have kiosks that a guest can order from. But we have actually the first two things you saw a couple weeks ago, the first two things you saw when you walked in that restaurant as a consumer were guest-facing kiosks. We have changed that, and now the very first thing you see when you walk into that restaurant is one of our team members, and so you can order from them. And I don't know that. By the way, we kind of take the approach we like to test things. I don't know that this is a solution. I just know that we are very much seeing a trend of people want human on human interaction. But at the same time, like I said, we've got, a little bit to the left as you walk in, we've got consumer facing kiosks that you can still walk in and place the order if you want to. And I've spent a lot of time in that restaurant just watching how guests interact with it. It's fascinating because somebody who's been to Birdcall 100 times, they walk in, they say hi, they say, how are you doing? And then they walk over and place the order themselves. But that first guest, when they come in, they're going straight to the person. And that also allows us to have a bit of a conversation with them, like, hey, the best sandwich we got is this, really recommend this, or something like that. The other thing I would say in the industry is, from a trend standpoint, on the technology front is, I'm not to use the buzzword, the dirty word, the whatever word, but every conversation seems to either got to start it with AI, you got to end it with AI, you got to mention AI somewhere in there. It's like a law now. So everyone's talking about AI. I don't think I don't believe I'm a Luddite, but I just haven't seen AI in the restaurant space really. I don't know. It hasn't really changed the world yet. I do think it will, to be clear. I mean, AI is coming. It's here. It's whatever. But I just don't know exactly what it looks like yet for restaurants. And there are brands out there, by the way, from a drive-through standpoint here in the U.S. that the drive-throughs effectively completely run by AI. And we've looked into that. We know those brands pretty well. We know a lot of the work behind it. Doesn't feel right for us. I understand why folks are doing that, but I'm also not sure it's a game changer. I'm also not sure it's additive. I mean, maybe it saves a bit of labor here and there, but at what cost? And so I just don't know yet. I mean, again, I'm not saying AI is not going to be a game changer for the restaurant industry, because I actually think it will be pretty meaningful. But I haven't seen anything yet that we look at and say, holy cow, we've got to adopt that or embrace that tomorrow.
So
Yeah, no worries.
Denver, for instance, has some shifts as well, right? When you think about the challenges of scaling a brand like Birdcall, what are the key operational or strategic hurdles you're focused on overcoming in the next 6 to 12 months? And if you had a magic wand to fix just one thing that's holding Birdcall back or slowing down its expansion, what would that one thing be?
So if I think about operational hurdles for the brand over the next, call it, as you said, 6 to 12 months, and we're ready for this, or I believe we're ready for this, but it really is, we're going to be opening for the first time, excuse me, for the first time, we're going to be opening restaurants that are not owned and operated restaurants. They're going to be franchise restaurants. And as I said, we have some great franchise partners, but as an operator, always makes you a little bit nervous when something's opening, a restaurant's opening, and you don't have direct control over that restaurant because we're stewards of this brand. We believe strong in the Birdcall brand, and we know it's going to be successful. But again, we're relinquishing a bit of control now. And we made the decision we want to do that. We believe it's the right thing. But as I look at it, it's like, holy cow, we got to make sure this goes, can't just go well. It's got to go, it's got to be spectacular. It has to be an absolute, can't be a home run, it's got to be a grand slam. And so that's number one focus of ours over the next, well, 6, 12, and really 24 months. Because that's kind of this window where we're going to have our first group of franchisees begin to open their restaurants, because we don't want them to just be successful. We want them to be wildly successful. And it's, I mean, part of it is obviously you want to see success because success builds upon success. But we're also, first of all, these are great people. They're good people. We like them, not just professionally, but personally, they're good people. We like all of them. We want them to be successful for that reason. But they're also the group they're the first ones who took the bet on the Birdcall brand. Now, we took it on the corporate side. We're all employees at Birdcall because we believe in this. We bet our careers on it, is one way to look at it. And now we've got another group of folks who've done the same thing. So we just, waving that magic wand, I want every single one of them to be, again, I want them to be successful, but I want them to be extraordinarily successful, just because it's the right thing. It's the right thing to want. It's the right thing for us. It's the right thing for them. And we all just want to look back on this. If you could look 5 years down the road, we want to look back on 2026 and 2027 as just the foundational years of rapid growth for Birdcall. Now, but I do want to clarify or qualify, I guess, rapid growth, because rapid growth could mean opening as many Birdcall restaurants as we possibly can. And we're not going to do that because we could have signed up a lot more franchisees than we have so far. We've been judicious in that approach because what we don't want to do is we don't want to open restaurants that fail. And we want to have folks that are going to be here for the long term. And so our rapid growth really is focused on rapid but smart growth. So every year over the next 5 or 10 years, I promise you, we could have opened more restaurants than we're going to, but we want to open fewer, better restaurants. Because if you look 20 years in the future, I think we all look at this as Birdcall is going to be a brand that's going to be around for a very long time. We want to have some great success stories about the brand as it grows. We don't want to have the opposite of success stories.
Well, that's a powerful way to frame it. Mark, your insights have been incredibly valuable. I know our listeners in the luxury hospitality space will appreciate your perspective on customer experience, growth, and navigating market dynamics. Thank you for joining us on Leading in Luxury.
Thank you, Daniel. It has been fantastic to connect. Always good to connect with you. I always appreciate our conversations. And as I said before, I just think what you bring to the table, or you're focusing on some topics that are just incredibly important for all of us and just allow us to think about things that maybe we don't spend enough time thinking about, but we certainly should.
Well, thank you. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll leave a link to Birdcall's website in the description below. Please like this episode and subscribe to the channel. And see you next time. I'm Daniel Renna.